So welcome to this panel discussion and presentation on gender equality. It's a very special day to be having this discussion since it's the International Day of Violence Against Women, or against violence against women, to say it like that. So I'm very happy that we can do this on such a special day, and that all the partner universities from Utopia have very kindly been in contact with speakers that have agreed to present something about their universities and gender equality today. So to give you a bit of an overview of what these 2 hours are going to look like, after my introduction, a little introduction is over, there's going to be a bit on the tote bag contest of Utopia. For anyone who isn't aware, by the way, Utopia is of course the network of the 6 universities that are partnering together to become one of the many European, almost pan-European universities of the future. So there has been a tote bag contest to have our official Utopia bag that we can give to all our students, and there has been a winner, so we're going to present that. After that, we will have the 6 speakers, or 7 speakers, I must say, of the 6 partner universities. Each have a little presentation on their university, gender equality there, what has been done, what they are doing, and maybe some numbers on that. And after that, we will have a interwoven discussion and Q&A where you are free to ask your questions by raising your hand, and I will give you the floor and you can ask them, or put your question in the chat. And I will try to keep up with all the questions and interlink them with the discussion between all the speakers about gender equality in a broad sense, and also specifically aimed at students at universities or other higher education. So after that introduction, I will give you a quick overview of the speakers. From Paris, I'm just going to name the cities. From Paris, we have the Gender Equality Officer, Stefania Marcasa. Then from Gothenburg, we have Julia Sigalova, who is the president of the Feminist Student Society. Then from Ljubljana, we have Anna, who is the president of the Student Society for Human Rights and Democratization. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right. It's called Equitas. Yes. Then from Barcelona, we have another president. Luckily, a lot of empowered women here today. The president of also the Feminist Student Society. And then from Warwick, we have the Women's Officer from the Student Union, which for those who have different terms, is called, it's like the Student Council in other universities. And then from Brussels, we have members of the equality team. So some are students, some are staff. Sorry, I will mention all the names again. I realize I skipped them once their talks will come up. But first, I will give the floor to either Lisa or Iris, who are going to tell us about the tote bag contest.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Iris. I'm one of the project managers at Utopia project. So we were working a lot on this tote bag contest. It hasn't been going on for long. It only lasted for 1 week. So it was closed this Sunday, November 22nd. And we've had plenty of submissions. We've had 15 submissions, if I'm not wrong. And these submissions have been posted on our Utopia Facebook page, where people have been sharing, liking the photos, and this was our main parameter in a way of, choosing the winning design. And our winner was Julia Stolitz from University of Ljubljana, and she will just spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about the process, how she came to it, what's the meaning behind her design, and maybe even share the design so everyone can see. And Julia, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me all. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Julia. I come from Slovenia, University of Ljubljana, and I'm the face behind the winning design. Let's just say I'm very grateful for this opportunity and this experience. And yeah, it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone since I usually prefer traditional art, but I gave it my all in the digital part. So I designed it in the Clip Studio Pro with my graphic tablet. And the one thing that I knew I wanted to include in the tote bag design is the phrase "Together we thrive," and then build everything around that phrase. Then I decided to include some hands, and I made sure to include feminine and more masculine hands, which represent the gender equality. As for the colors, I chose more vibrant, more colorful choices because since we're more, let's say, young and youthful, and they also represent our skin colors because we're from different countries and we have different racial backgrounds. And then, of course, the biggest significance carries the word thrive because we students, we grow, we gain new knowledge through our university years, and that's represented with that word thrive. And an accident happened with the design because the hands at the end formed a tree. I didn't mean to do that. And it literally represents us growing and thriving. So that was like a small happy accident that happened. Yeah, that's basically the whole meaning behind the design. It was really fun designing it, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm really happy that every element has a special and unique meaning. And yeah, that's basically the work and meaning behind everything. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Julia, and congratulations, of course. It's, I would say it's quite an honor. Is there anywhere, maybe Iris or Julia, where we can actually see the design online? Or yes, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it's, I'm already looking forward to having this on my shoulder while I'm walking over campus again.
Yeah, we're very excited, and we liked actually all the designs, and we hopefully will find a way to utilize other designs that were submitted because they were absolutely amazing. The designs are available still on our Facebook Utopia page, so you guys can check them out, and maybe if you really like them or you want to cooperate with other students that made these because their names are under each picture, you can feel free to contact them or us at Utopia main office to kind of connect with them, because I feel everyone would be excited to work with us. So thank you guys very much for this opportunity to actually show this and announce the winner. So we'll be going now and leave you to
Okay.
discussions.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, bye-bye. So that's already a very good start. I would say if I look at the design, I already feel some sort of empowerment and togetherness. So that's also what this is about today, to come together and see how can we better the world. I think, I don't know about the audience, but of course in the speaker section, there are only women today actually, which is also a beautiful, not only concrete, but also symbolic way of saying we are here, we're not going anywhere, and we are working very hard on demanding equality. So I already feel very empowered by being here. Of course, gender equality is also not only a basic necessity, but also part of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. It's also, I can only speak for the VUB, but I would say what all 6 partner universities very much stand for in a very fundamental way. So in that vein, I would like to start introducing the speakers, and one by one, they will guide you through their stories of gender equality at their universities. So first off is Stefania Marcasa, who I just introduced as the Gender Equality Officer in Paris. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Is it the case? Yes? Okay, good. So I'm going to share my slide. And here they are. Yes, so I'm the Gender Equality Officer of CY Sergi Paris University, which is close to Paris, not exactly in Paris, but we can say that we are in Paris. No, it's fine. And so and I'm also actually associate professor of economics, and I work on gender and family economics issues. That's another reason why I decided to take up this challenge, let's say, and become the gender equality officer. So I would also like to thank Marie Marchand, who represents the students at CY and who I think is here among us.
I'm hiding because
yeah, hello.
But I'm here. Hello, everyone.
And who actually, so thanks to Marie, I'm able to present here today to all of you. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit what's going on in CY, and I hope to be exhaustive, but and that I do not forget anything about CY and the action at CY. Let's see. So okay, so I wanted, since I'm the one opening the floor, I thought I wanted to start from a general issue or some general facts that actually concerns the 6 countries that we have here represented today. And so obviously it was not easy to find, like, to pick few facts, because there are many when we go to, I mean, when we want to talk about gender equality or gender inequality or violence. So, well, since I want to talk about university and students, so I started by looking at the data on the tertiary educational attainment by sex. And this is something that, those are some statistics that have been quite, that are quite known by now. So we do know that women actually graduate much more than men. And we can see that this is true in all of the countries of the Utopia project. So we're not different than the rest of the world. And in some countries, the difference is particularly striking. Now, what is interesting about this? Well, it's the fact that even if we are smart, we do graduate, well, we still do get paid less when we get a job. So there is still a gender pay gap that persists in most of the countries that are involved in this project. Now, I took this data, sorry, I forgot to mention it before, from the European Commission website, which has a lot of interesting data and updated data on this issue. Those gender pay gap data are to be taken a little bit with some cautions, because you know, they are not controlled for characteristics, etc. So they are, let's say, raw data on gender pay gap. So they give us an idea, but they don't really say everything. But they still, I mean, it's not that if we control for everything, we're going to end up with no gender pay gap. We are still going to have it. The thing is that we cannot really understand exactly where this gender pay gap can come from. And also, you know, when the gender pay gap is small, doesn't really necessarily mean that there's no inequality. It may also mean that, for example, there are few women working, and those women that are working are actually working in full-time jobs and are earning a higher wage. I mean, higher compared to men, but maybe you have a labor force participation of women that is very low. So there could be inequality, that some kind of inequality in the labor market that is not exactly captured by the gender pay gap. So this to say that, okay, there are inequalities in the labor market that we haven't solved yet, even though countries are making an effort to solve it, and even though the situation has been improved a lot in the last years. Now, what is happening in CY? So who is enrolling in CY? Well, so given the time constraint that I had, I couldn't get all the data that I wanted from CY, so I have some data. But I was hoping to get something more, but maybe next year, if we do this again. As you see, so here I just showed student enrollment. So female as a percentage of total enrollment in CY in 2019, 2020. So we don't know here how many of these are graduating yet, and I couldn't get the past graduating data. Sorry about that. So what we see, no surprise, that like computer science and engineering are really not much represented. I mean, in those fields, women are not too much represented. And it's particularly striking from here, where I just show the percentage of men and women by enrollment of men and women by field. And so you see that women are fairly well represented in social sciences, in law, education studies, well, health and social welfare. It's a fairly new field in CY, so maybe there will be. Well, now it's still pretty much a women field, but it's new, so maybe there will be more men joining the field. Humanities and arts, which also has, let's say, the opposite equality issue. And then, we see that computer sciences or information and communication technology and engineering have, can do better in involving, or in attracting women into their fields. And I know this is a particular issue at the engineering school in CY, a particularly important issue in the engineering school at CY. So, we are not, so those are statistics that I think so they are statistics of CY, but I think they can be easily generalized to many other universities. But I said, unfortunately, I don't have the data on the graduation. What are the things? So there are women are graduating more than men. Still, they are getting paid. They are getting paid less than men. And as you see, there's some obstacle on getting into fields in science fields. So those are issues that have to be taken into account when we design a gender equality plan in a university, and have to be taken seriously by whoever is designing the gender equality plan in a university. So what are the gender equality plans that are in place in France, and more precisely at CY? So let's say quickly, there's a law that has been passed in 2013 that actually requires the university in France to adopt a charter for gender equality in higher education. And that charter actually, that law also requires to appoint a gender equality officer. So it's, in my opinion, it's quite recent. And actually in CY, there was no, as far as I know, there was no gender equality officer before 2014. And today, I mean, this year, actually the university are required by the end of this year to have a gender equality, to present a gender equality plan to the government that is going to be valid for the next 3 years. So things are getting serious, I would say. And these gender equality plans do not concern only staff and researchers and professors, but they also concern students. Okay? Something which is fairly even newer than than the previous law is the fact that only in 2009, the government required the higher education institutions to have a system for reporting violences, discrimination, moral and sexual harassment at the university level. And so given the past, the fact that we know very well in the past, I think that it's a very it's a very recent step. Well, fortunately, it has been adopted now. By the end of this year, all the universities have to show that this system exists, but it's not compulsory yet. What about CY? So CY did adopt a gender equality charter right away in 2014, thanks to the new elected gender equality officer at that time. And in this gender equality charter, so all the main topics about gender equality were let's say, listed. And those, among those, all the issues related to gender equality, there were also issues related to students. Okay, so the fact that women has to be encouraged to enroll in science fields, etc. And also there was an important part on discrimination and sexual and moral harassment. I have to say that together with me, there's another colleague that work and that actually is, let's say, work more on the discrimination part. So on the discrimination issues. So, and in particular about sexual discrimination and violence and sexual harassment, CY launched a helpline for victims, which I am in charge of, and in collaboration with an association, an institute which is called Women Safe, which is particularly well known in France, and that can bring a professional help to any person which has something to do with CY and that has some issues of sexual harassment, domestic violence, etc. On this issue, and their children as well. So it's, I believe that it's an instrument which is particularly important for CY. And also I believe that has to be advertised more, but I will talk more about that later. Since January 2020, I'm also in charge of the development of a project, a European Commission founded project, similar to Utopia, if you like, which is called JEPS, and which means leading towards sustainable gender equality in research institutions, which actually has as an objective to develop, design, and implement equality plans and gender budgeting in different institutions. Sorry, it's actually in 8 different institutions and their countries. So you have more details about this project on the website. So I wrote the website if you are interested in checking. So I'm not going to go into the details, but so JEPS will help the university to, as I said, develop a gender equality plan and gender budgeting, which is particularly new as a part of gender equality plans at CY. So at a smaller, so I think those are the two main points or two main facts about gender equality in practice at CY so far. And then I would say there are other ways in which gender equality is promoted in CY, which are maybe which are as important but smaller in people involvement, etc., and which is the participation with the collaboration with an association which is called Elbush. Women, they move. And so, and this association is particularly focused on organizing events that are going to let's say, connect girls to STEM fields. Girls from a very early age. So we are organizing events that in which we are thinking of bringing together people from high school that are about to graduate and people that are, I mean, students that are already in university, to get them to know each other and to get them to discuss how things are in science fields at the university, and hopefully to get them to convince them that they should go in STEM fields if they really like to go in STEM fields. And then there are other, let's say, smaller facts about that are smaller events at CY, like a yearly prize that is awarded to female PhD students in sciences by an association which is called Femmes et Sciences, pardon. So Women in Sciences, where some of the members of the association are from CY. And then, so since May 2020, I'm also organizing a webinar in gender and female economics. So it's more of a academic seminar, which is open to anyone. It's a webinar, so even to students, mainly PhD students. And to finish up, I think I talked a lot, sorry. So what is still to do? Well, there's still a lot to do in CY. I just would like to say something that it's particularly important to me. I think that what we have to, what my role and my colleagues' role is to raise awareness on sexual and gender-based violence and sexual harassment among students. I think there's not enough communication about these issues at CY. I think we have the means. We are working with associations that are very much that could be very much helpful in the issue. And there has been recently some surveys that have been done by a student association in France that showed how students are, sorry to say that, but even ignorant about what sexual harassment is, or when we have to be considered what is considered sexual harassment. I mean, even a lot of people are ignorant on the basic definition. So when should we feel that we are sexually harassed, or that we are somebody is inflicted violence to us in a sexual sense. So I think that that's maybe what is really missing is a communication campaign, is to understand what are the issues in CY in particular. So, well, I finished. So we just actually wrote a new chart of, let's say, living together, vivre ensemble, that is going to be, let's say, presented in 2 weeks at a roundtable that I will present, that I will organize at CY, and where I will talk about all these issues myself for the CY community, for students and colleagues. So thank you. Sorry that I was so long. Sorry.
Thank you so much. There is so much to talk about, so I don't blame you at all. Of course, we can talk about this for days and years if we had the time. I was hearing especially the things that still need to happen, raising awareness, data gathering on what the situation is. It is encouraging to see the laws that have been passed and how they move a bit from encouraging things to happen to actually saying it is an obligation for you to work on this. So that is very encouraging to see. Thank you again. The next speaker is from the University of Gothenburg, Julia Sigalova, the president of GU Fem, the Feminist Student Society. Thank you. You have the floor.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in Utopia Week and the Student Forum on Gender Equality in particular. My name is Julia. I'm a second-year international master student doing a program in gender practices or gender studies at the University of Gothenburg, Sweden. And today I am proud to present the Feminist Student Society of the University of Gothenburg, or shortly GUFEM. So I'm mostly going to focus, I feel like I do not have much authority to talk about the situation in the university in particular, so I'm going to focus on the work our organization does, our values and ideas, and some challenges that we face in our work. So we define our mission as a safe and inclusive university for everyone. We want to create a safe space to meet like-minded individuals, create a feminist community within the university, provide educational events, and push forward positive change for a more equal university. We're a fairly young organization. We started in January of this year. And I gotta say, it was quite a turbulent year, but we're trying to make our best of the situation right now. And since May this year, our organization has been a member of the student union, Göta Studentkår, which comes with opportunities to apply for funding and book venues at the university for our events, but also comes with a number of restrictions and limitations, which I'm gonna address a bit later. I would like to start with our vision and ideals. Our first and foremost goal is community building, creating a safe space for fellow feminists, building a local feminist community within the university. And as we were getting started, many aspiring members, or like future members of our organization, joke that our main goal or main slogan should be "Make feminism great again," to paraphrase him who shall not be named. And what they were suggesting with that is that gender equality and feminism became such widely accepted buzzwords, like appropriated by corporations, politicians, you name it. So our goal is really to stay true to the core feminist values, like the core political message of feminism, but at the same time popularize it, like make it engaging, relevant, modern, and sort of fun, which is like a tricky line to walk. How do we make something fun and fun to engage with, but at the same time do not lose the edge, if you know what I mean. And we also constantly try to push our agenda beyond just gender and gender binary. So we try to diversify the content to be put out on social media, or the content of the events or topics of the events we organize. So it is not just about women in our university. For us, we talk about the variety of issues that we consider feminist issues. And not so much a value, but a strength of ours is international membership. We have a lot of international students, which allows us to have this more global conversation about gender equality. And now to our events. We have two events that happen every month, Feminist Fika and Book Club. And for those of you who are not quite familiar with the Swedish culture, Fika is like a coffee break and something that the Swedes do religiously on a daily basis. So that's our version of it. We basically decide on a topic, and then we have a safe, open discussion around this topic. It's basically the manifestation of personal is political. We learn from each other, we share our experiences and learn from them. Then the book club, with the book club, we go for more easier reads. So I, as a gender studies student myself, have to leave Judith Butler in the classroom, and we come up with more easier to read second wave classics or maybe current pop feminist literature. And it's also an opportunity for us to yet again diversify our agenda. So we love to pick the reads that come from outside of the Western white feminist scholarship. And then lectures and workshops is also another thing we do, and it's basically all sorts of educational events about gender equality and feminism. And I would like to speak a bit about social media as well, especially now with the pandemic. Social media has been one way for us to stay in touch with our followers, to keep engagement up. So we use Facebook and Instagram to share current political news, summon support for movements and petitions and initiatives, and basically just to highlight important dates like Trans Awareness Week, Asexuality Awareness Week, etc., etc. Just raise awareness about feminist topics in general. And initially we wanted to like shy away from focusing so much on social media, but we came to realize that it's become such a huge part of like our generation. People do want to like feel like they're part of something by like liking stuff, sharing stuff, signing online petitions and feeling good about it. And it's something you can either like complain about, or it's something you can embrace and try to do something productive with it. And in particular, in response to COVID-19, we launched a blog as yet another opportunity to like stay engaged and be present online. So it's basically a platform for our members and followers to share their opinions on politics, pop culture, and feminism. We just want to give like a platform for personal stories and voices that need to be heard. And it's really fun because we rarely get any like critical feedback or any any feedback about events we do offline, but people really do hold us very like accountable about stuff we post online, like, and it can like spark discussions and can spark like, I don't feel like this was like intersectional to say, or I don't think this is like relevant to post within like a social, like feminist social media platform. So like people do get like really engaged and hold us accountable, specifically in this online realm, which yet again goes to show like how big of a part digital communication plays for our generation and generation to come. And I would like to talk a bit about the challenges we face, because I think it will give floor to a lot of important discussions today. I want to start with intersectionality and inclusivity, and it is absolutely imperative for us that it is not just things that you can like easily tick off your list and be like done with some pretty numbers. It's not so much a goal in itself, but more like a way of doing feminism or being feminist. And what we came to realize is that our membership or our agenda are not just going to magically diversify themselves, despite us trying, like I mentioned again and again, to like be very diverse in the issues we bring up at our events or the issues we talk about on social media platforms. We do end up seeing that it's mostly like white middle class European students like gravitate towards our organization. So we kind of like have to stay back or take a step back at some point and ask ourselves, okay, how do we actively create space for others? But of course, we also have to acknowledge that it can have a lot to do with, in general, who gets to attend higher education in Sweden. And of those people who do attend higher education in Sweden, how relevant feminism is for them. So we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions of like actively making a space inclusive. Being part of the university is of course amazing, but it also comes with like some limitations. And one thing I want to talk about is like being part of a student union. So in the whole like hierarchy of how decisions are made, we would probably find ourselves like more towards the bottom. So even like bringing up issues with the union or like asking union to fund certain initiative, the union of course has to pick their battles, which is totally understandable, and they're like very strategic in the kind of issues they are ready to invest energy in to like bring up like further up to the university staff and administration. So it is a challenge. How do you function as a part of university and collaborate with the university, but also do not cease being critical and challenging some practices or things that happen in the university. And commitment and engagement, I would say one of the challenges is figuring out the niche for a feminist organization in Sweden that already has such a notion of being like one of the most equal, or like, as Swedish people like to say, least unequal country in the world. There is like abundance of information, abundance of, and like just in general, wide acceptance of feminism and gender equality as an ideal. So myself coming from Russia, for example, I know that we have a huge demand for like peer education where students just get together and educate each other in feminism, because gender studies are not institutionalized in my home country. Whereas in Sweden, there is abundance of information, abundance of resources. So we just need to like find our niche and to create engagement, and especially reaching out to students from STEM departments, for instance. That one challenge we have, because most of our students are social studies and humanities students who get engaged in our organization. And of course, they already come with a certain kind of knowledge and understanding and vision for feminism, but maybe they're not the most important group we need to reach out to. And of course, COVID-19 has been a huge challenge for us this year with keeping up the engagement, meeting new people, reaching out to new potential members. And we moved our events to online, but we do have to face some challenges because of that. How do we include, how do we create safe space in this anonymous online space where basically anyone can come in and like start trolling, for example, or not everyone maybe feels comfortable talking about personal things via Zoom when they're at home with their partner or their family, so maybe they cannot be open about their identity or some of their experiences or something like that. So on the one hand, of course, moving things online has been a solution and something we've embraced, but it also comes with a number of challenges. So I hope maybe some of this will be continued in the discussion, but I just want to thank you for your attention. And we as an organization would be really happy to stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for that very succinct presentation. I can understand how it's a major challenge to actually start up an organization and then 2-3 months later have to deal with this very special situation, let's call it. Recruitment is very difficult in these times. In your talk, I heard themes of a very interesting theme, actually, where you said, what can feminism mean in a society that is already perceived or actually is more equal than others? Do people still feel a need for it? Where is that need? And also the theme, which I think is very real at all universities, how can you create diversity and equality if you are recruiting from a pool that is maybe already not the most diverse, if you're already only looking at people that actually make it to university. So thank you so much. I think definitely that second one, more so than the first one, is a very global, a global experience in feminism, and that first one is very interesting, something I have not personally thought of so much yet. But thank you for your talk. And then the next speaker is Laura, I hope I'm saying this right, Lusa Rosell, from Pope Fabra, Barcelona, and she is the president of the Feminist Student Society as well.
Yes, so hi, nice to meet you, everyone, virtually meet you here. Well, I don't have I don't have like a PowerPoint because you said it was optional, so I thought it would be good to be talking like if we knew each other or like we were together. So well, I'm going to divide my presentation in some parts. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Laura Lusa. I'm a business administration student in Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona. So the truth is that I am really glad to be here today participating in this student forum and in gender equality. I would like to thank the University of Warwick for hosting the event and the whole Utopia Week and all the Utopia community for making it possible and for all the amazing job that they do. So I'm going to divide my time in two main parts. The first one, I will be talking about what we do in Pompeu Fabra University regarding the gender issue and what we do in Time Is Up, that is the student association where I am. And then I will talk about the main 4 topics on the forum today that, as you told me, they were how can we students reduce gender inequality at university? How can we encourage our institutions to promote equality? How can we provide a free space for thinking for women and men? And how do we reduce the gender prejudices concerning studies and jobs? So first of all, what's happening in Pompeu Fabra University? Well, in the university we have like many departments, and one of them is the equality department. It has 3 main functions. The first one is like to advise the governing bodies on the university to elaborate and to develop the necessary programs to promote policies of gender equality, such as coordinating specific actions for teachers, administratives, and all the people who work in the university. So one of these actions, for example, has been developing an equality plan. It was implemented in 2018. It will last until 2025. And every 2 years, this plan is reviewed. So I think that this year they did the review. And what they do basically is like to see if the things that they put it in this equality plan, they are being like achieved. So I don't know the result yet because it's not public yet, but I hope that everything is going right. The second thing that they do is attending the inquiries and complaints regarding gender-based violence and LGTB phobia that affect any member of the university community, and they try to provide solutions and support services. Like, for example, if there is one professor that is doing any action that someone finds it inadequate in class, or I don't know, maybe some student is like concerning on another student, or whatever action that someone finds it's inappropriate in the educative environment, they try to provide solutions and to give like any kind of support that this person may need. So finally, they also organize awareness raising activities on the effective equality of women and men, and also sexual diversity and gender expression and identity. So, for example, now is the internet, like every time that there's a special day regarding gender issue. For example, now it's the 25th of November, but also in 8th of March, or I don't know these dates. They organize 2 weeks that they do a lot of activities and activities and events for students and for all the university community in order to like empower them and to like get to know the issue, and so they can like educate a little bit all the people who is part of this community in order to like improve their manners. So well, now I'm going to talk about Time Is Up. That is the student association where I am. The name is based on the Hollywood campaign that Oprah started some years ago now. We started this association because in the university, as I said, there was this department and there were also some assemblies, but there wasn't a student association made by students to students that concerned the gender issue. So we thought that it was really important that, and now I'm referring to the first question, that how can we students reduce gender inequality in university? Like there wasn't anything that students did to empower other students or to like conscientiate other students. So in January 2018, we thought that it would be great to start, and we started a really little group of girls with this idea. We didn't know what we would where we would arrive, but we were like really glad to start with it and really happy to be or to feel that we were doing something in order to improve our futures, but also the futures of a lot of students. So we started this activity, and we like talk about it with all the girls in our classes and in our faculties, and now we are a big group of girls, of women who try to reduce this gender equality issue in the university. So we do 3 main things. The first one is we created our own event. It's called Women Talks. So now we've done already 5 editions of this event. It's really good. I love it when we do it. So what we do is we invite 3 women from different backgrounds. Like we invite them to talk about their personal lives and their professional lives, and like how the fact of being women has affected their lives in a good way or in a bad way, but how being a woman has been different for them rather than if they had been a man, obviously. So they also like they are professionals, so they are all women. They are like 50 years old or 40 years old. So it's really good because we students have like a very different point of view. And it's really good to hear like women that are older than us, like to give us some advices and to understand how they see life and how a lot of circumstances have affected them in a good or in a bad way. So it's really good because first, well, they do their talk, and then there's a space for students to ask questions and to debate with them. And yeah, it's really good. Last Saturday we did the 5th edition. It was called Women Talks Where Perseverance Matters, and it was really good. We invited a girl who's a photographer. It's really a well-known photographer from Catalonia, and she's also like she creates digital content. We also invited a woman who has a PhD in parapharmacy, I think, and works in a biopharmaceutical company. And we also invited an entrepreneur who has founded a brand, a clothes brand, really well known in Spain too. And it was like really empowering. Like we finished the event and we were all smiling and feeling like we were part of something and part of a community. It was really good, and it was also like so great to have these advices from the women. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So another thing that we do is workshops. We like Women Talks, that it's the event I was talking before. It's like more like talking, and it's more like a talk from, yes, I said already, from the people. And the workshops, they are more interactive. For example, we did one that we invited a games theory and microeconomics from professor, and the subject was how to negotiate your salary. So she gave us tips like do this, don't do this, and it was really good because we women, the salary issue is really complex sometimes, and it was really good to know how can we discuss about it without feeling awkward or without feeling like, I don't know, uncomfortable, because we don't have to. And finally, the last thing that we do, we also like try to empower girls and give knowledge of the gender issue through Instagram and social networks. We have a profile on Instagram. It's Time Is Up UPF. Then I will write it. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us. And we like do 3 main things. The first one is called Monday Motivation. So on Mondays we upload a quote about any women. We try it to be like an actuality issue. And yeah, we do this, and just for the students to know like quotes and things that have happened. Then on Wednesday we upload a post called Women Crush Wednesday. So we talk there about a woman that has inspired us in some way. We talk about women from all over the world that had like from a lot of different professions, like women that are dead, that are alive, any women that in any way has inspired us. And then on Fridays, we upload a post called Friday Recommendation, and we do some cultural recommendation, like we have recommended books, movies, I don't know, expositions in museums, a lot of things. And yeah, basically these are the 3 main things that we do. And now just as a conclusion, because now I see that I'm a little late, just want to do like a final conclusion of everything that we were talking with all my matters in Time's Up. We think that the key of everything is education. So if we want to be empowered people, we have to be educated. And if we want to empower other people, we have to be educated. So not just women, but also men. Like in a society that it's not critical, that is not capable to think critically, and consequently that it's not educated, it's impossible, it's completely impossible to achieve gender equality. So I am extremely glad, and all the Time's Up community and Pompeu Fabra University community is extremely glad to have these spaces to give voice to the students, to know other people from other countries, to know what they are doing in other universities, so they can replicate their ideas and their models, and we can consequently be educating ourselves constantly. It's really good that we have this space in the European community to know each other, but I think that there's still a lot to do in a lot of other parts in the whole world. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone, to let us have this little space here today, and encourage every woman in here today to keep learning and to keep being educated, because we got this. So thank you very much, and nice to meet you, everyone, and yeah, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, Laura, for your talk. It is indeed true, no one needed to have slides. I think we were all perfectly fine just talking amongst friends almost. So thank you so much. I think there is a kind of beautiful interaction between empowerment and education, like you said at the end. And also it is very nice to see that at your university, there is a two-way way of working of the policy plan, of the equality plan, but also the individual help of those people that do file complaints. I think it's very important not to lose ourselves in big policy and big ideas without actually helping those people that need that individual advice. And also things like a workshop or a women's talk about things like just hearing from people that actually achieved a lot, that yes, they still struggle as well with this, and this is how they deal with it, and you can actually make it. And things like negotiating salary, that seems really inspiring almost, and very nice. So thank you a lot for that. So then the next speaker is from Ljubljana, Anna Germis, who is the president of the Student Society for Human Rights and Democratization at Kitas. I'm sure I mispronounced that, but Anna, you have the floor.
Thank you. So hello from me too. So my name is Anna Germ, and I'm the president of Student Society for Human Rights and Democratization, called Equitas. I'm also a student at the University of Ljubljana at the Faculty of Social Sciences. I study international relations, and I'm in my third year at the moment. So today I will present what our society does at the faculty to increase the awareness of the importance of gender equality. And I will also focus on presenting some data about gender equality in Slovenia and at the faculty or at the university level. And lastly, I will present one other institute, IPES, that is the main organization for gender equality in Slovenia. So firstly, I will briefly present the situation considering gender equality in Slovenia that was described in the Slovenia's national report to the United Nations. So in the report, we can read that Slovenia records one of the lowest average gender pay gaps in the European Union. On average, women earn €101 less per month than men do. We can say that we have good laws that decrease discrimination based on gender when it comes to employment, but women are still in a minority when it comes to leading positions. So, for example, at the moment, there is only 24% of women on the leading positions, and the percentage of seats held by women in national parliaments and local authorities is increasing. Do the quotas, but for example, in National Assembly, there is 38% of women, I think, and we have 47% of women ministers. That is like a quite good percentage, I think, but it can still be improved. The research also shows that women are more exposed to all kinds of violence. So the most of the violence happens at home. So domestic violence is like the most common one in Slovenia. Slovenia launched a national program for equal opportunities for women and men that is in force since 2015, and it improved the situation for women a lot. We also have the Protection Against Discrimination Act adopted in 2016 that was also shown as a very good project, like to improve the equality. Also, I can say that our current UN youth delegate is very active on the field of gender equality. She hosted many interesting talks on the topic and raised the awareness between the students also during the quarantine and everything. So that's very nice. And then if we look at the situation at the university, we don't have any special policies that will increase gender equality. Of course, the access to the educational system is the same for all women and men, and also discrimination is not allowed, but there are not any like specific measures connected to the gender equality. But I can say that, for example, our faculty and also other faculties do a lot of research about the gender equality, so that further educates the students. The last one was made by the Faculty of Philosophy this year about the gender representation in the educational system. So the results are not available yet, but we can say that in human studies, there is a lot more women than men, and it is the other way around in natural sciences. But in general, more women continue their education at the tertiary level than men, when on the other hand, there are a lot more men employed on higher positions. I can also present you an example that happened on our faculty, so the Faculty of Social Sciences. Last year, we took down all the women-men signs for the toilets. So now we have common toilets for all. So also that people that don't define themselves as men or women are not excluded in our community. So now moving forward, I want to explain or present you our society. So Equitas is the first society in Slovenia that deals with the topics such as human rights, democratization, and gender equality. We are a new society that began our journey this year. We are composed out of students and also other adults that are interested in our field of expertise. We established this community because we want to contribute to the provision of human rights and to the development of international relations and also democratization. We want to raise awareness among the interested public on the importance of the issues related to the topics. So in our work, we also focus a lot on gender equality. Our main goal is to create a better academic environment for education. We want to give the students the opportunity to learn and also to participate in our projects. So through our work, we want to encourage people to think about human rights, gender equality, and the topics I mentioned before, and try to improve the situation in those areas, because only together we can build like a free and fair society for all. Our main activity is a summer school for human rights. It is called Academia Estiva Internationalis. It takes place at the Faculty of Social Sciences in Ljubljana, and each year it brings together students between the ages of 18 and 26 from all different parts of the world who want to, I don't know, broaden their view of the world, acquire the skills of group collaboration, creating their own ideas and scientific products. They work under the mentorship of experts in the field of human rights. For example, last year's topic was a bit more broadened. We talked about human rights in general, because that year we celebrated the 70 years of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But we also included a lot of lectures about gender equality. with the attendance, students can also earn 4 ESAT points. And summer school is under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Slovenia. This year's summer school will be the 5th one, and it will focus on the topic of environmental rights. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to come. Okay, so our next event correlated with equality is an event we will organize with the Institute for the Study of Gender Equality, IPES, and also with some other organizations that work on the topic. On the event, we will focus on 3 main topics. So the first, we will focus on the presentation of gender equality through historical and sociological perspective. Secondly, we will take a look into a comparative review of gender equality, in particular by comparing legislative frameworks. And lastly, we will look into the constitutional protection of gender equality. We will also focus on discrimination against mothers in divorce and its legal consequences. And gender equality won't be only discussed on the national level, but we will also focus on some other regions or countries. For example, there will be some presenters from Poland and Bosnia present, so we will also take a look in this in the situation considering gender equality in these countries. The conference will consist out of 2 parts. So first one being the theory building with respected scholars, and the second one being the presentation of proposals for scientific articles. So students will get the opportunity to write an academic article on the topic of gender equality that will be later released in a scientific journal. We are also planning to organize an event based on the Agenda 2030, so the largest global agenda for sustainable development of the United Nations. We will look into the Slovenia's report on its progress and its possible setbacks in the specific areas that the country wasn't able to achieve its goals in it. And we will also focus on the 5th goal in particular, so the goal about gender equality. The presentation of 2030 agenda report will also be followed by a roundtable and a discussion. So we will also encourage students to participate, make comments, and also some suggestions for improvements on the field. Then if I just quickly present the IPES, so the institute that focuses on gender equality in Slovenia more precisely. So their main cause is to overcome gender barriers and offer equal opportunities and rights to all people. The institute organizes a lot of events on the topic. Its last project, for example, was about the atmosphere in intimate partnerships and families during quarantine that increased the uncertainty of what the future holds. So they made a survey and later they analyzed it. And the analysis of the survey gives us like an insight into the situation that was emerging even before the arrival of COVID-19. But they are like warning the society of what will follow after the epidemic. So there will be even more financial insecurity for women, even like the psychological consequences of fear will be also very high. Then more violence will appear. Also, at the end, inequality for women will increase again. So the situation for women will get even worse. It also draws the attention to sexual violence and the still present stereotypes about women. So their main goal at the end is to contribute to improving the starting point of women in the society. We also have another institute, just for example, it is called Institute of 8 March, but they also focus on gender equality, but they are not like that committed to that theme. They also cover some other human to use her word. Just to conclude, I can say that in Slovenia, we are doing a lot on the field of gender equality. We have a lot of different organizations and also societies that deal with the topic. One of them is also our society. But I think we are still not at the point we want to be at. So women and men are still not completely equal. But I think that we are like on the right path to achieve that. Although the pandemic will definitely worsen the situation for women even more, but we have to take measures now that the consequences will be minimal. So yeah, thank you. That's all from me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anna, for your overview. It seems like you are working on a lot of different fronts on different levels, which is really commendable. When I heard your presentation, I was thinking of a topic that maybe ties back a bit also to Julia, but we will come back to it in the discussion, where you see the difference between what is written in law and actually that the law is equal, and the reality of the situation maybe not being equal, and both looking at the law and seeing how can we actually have a deeper gender equality in the written law, but also that there is a lot of research on gender inequality and equality to actually see, but what is the situation outside of the books, the legal books. So that is a very, I think, very interesting thing. And it also ties back a bit to saying, well, the numbers are equal, but so what is the role of feminism then still? So thank you so much for that. And it was a lot. I'm not going to remember all the things you said, but I took some notes and I'll try my best. And then the next speaker is from the University of Warwick, our hosting university of this week, Amara Okoye, who is the women's officer within the student union. Amara, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm just quickly going to share my screen. Fabulous. Okay, hello, my name is Amara Chukwu Okoye, Amara for short, and I'm Warwick SU's Women's Officer. Essentially, I am, for those who don't know what the SU is, Student Union, it's just basically the representing body who represent students on campus, and I am an elected official who represents the women on campus. And of course, I just dropped my email there. So three things I'm going to focus on today in what Warwick and the union are doing is how we're tackling sexual assault and violence on campus, tackling period poverty, and just our educational work. So there are a few initiatives that has been launched over the past few years that we have aimed to use to tackle sexual assault, and they also are used for other forms of discrimination as well. So the first is Report and Support. Report and Support was actually launched this academic year, and I think it's an amazing reporting system where individuals who have faced any form of discrimination, sexual assault included, as well as racism, can actually report using the system. And the way in which the system actually functions is that of they can either report and ask for the situation to be investigated, or if they just wanted to report it so the statistics is actually present, they can do so in that way as well. But more importantly, regardless of what stage the individual actually takes, they will always receive a trained advisor, someone who can actually support them throughout the entire way, someone who can actually guide them and ensure that they are safe, they feel more supported. And the advisor will take them through to the well-being services that we have on campus, which is basically our professional counseling services on campus, who can provide counseling and actually supports as well, and can write any notice which needs to go to your department, educational department, if you need some extensions on your work. The next thing that we have is our Ask for Angela scheme. So the Ask for Angela, just to show you different flyers and how they look on our campus, is basically in any club night that's held by the university, anyone who feels unsafe, that doesn't feel supported or feels as if they need to get out there, all they need to do is speak to any bar staff or any member of staff within the building and just basically ask for Angela, and they will immediately be put in a safer space. They'll be supported and actually ensure that they receive guidance immediately. And it's just good to know that no matter where you are on campus, the moment you ask for a particular code name, you will find some form of like help immediately by a individual from campus. And I think that's something that I've always loved, and I love the initiative. And I think it's one that is actually pre-COVID, when we could actually see people and we had events. It was one that was very popular and was like very well commended by our students. And then we also have Nightline. Nightline is a volunteer services. They're not trained officials. However, they are individuals who volunteer to speak to students who feel unsafe or who want someone to talk to on campus. And they're open from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. every night of term. And essentially all a student has to do is just call Nightline, and they will be able to speak to just someone, like a friendly voice at the end of the phone, who can actually support them and actually ensure that they feel safe, and just good conversation basically. And I think now more than ever with COVID and the lack of interaction, and some people actually living individually and not actually living in halls but living in flats on their own, people can get very lonely, and sometimes people don't know who to go to and who to turn to. And it's always good that we have a system that's in place that ensures that there will always be someone at the end of the phone who can actually pick up and actually support that individual. And of course, Nightline, as well as a lot of services on campus, provides free condoms, sanitary towels, earplugs, pregnancy tests, and attack alarms as well. Then in terms of tackling period poverty, we have many schemes which are aimed towards that. As we all know, period poverty is a thing that occurs in a lot of countries, and it's a problem as well in the UK, where 1 in 10 girls say that they've experienced period poverty, and to an extent that many have said that they have used socks, toilet papers, and even bread to absorb their flow, and which is not nice at all. It's not sanitary. It's just not fair that women and those who bleed have to go through this ordeal just because of a bodily function that they cannot control. And so Warwick University, as well as Warwick Students' Union, have created 2 different initiatives in an aim to sort of tackle this issue. So the Locker 21 scheme is one where any student on campus can email the scheme anonymously and request anything from condoms to period pads, pregnancy tests. And it will then be discreetly provided to them in a locker scheme as well. I mean, a locker on campus, and they just have within a few hours, and they can just go and get it there. One thing that I'm trying to now launch as an extension of the Locker 21 scheme is the welfare boxes. And essentially what that entails is ensuring that there is a box of free period pads, tampons, pregnancy tests on all student accommodation on campus. And so that if people do need these items, they can freely access them, and it's easily obtainable. And all of these items are provided free of charge, and it's going to be on all students' accommodations on campus, just so that no matter where you are on campus, essential items are easily obtainable, and you don't have to go a long way in order to get essentials that you actually truly need. And I think those are just like 2 ways in which our university and student unions have collabed in order to sort of tackle period poverty, because that's a prevalent issue in the UK. And then finally, I just wanted to talk, hone in more on our education and workshops. So in Warwick, we understand that in order to tackle gender inequality, there's a lot of education that needs to actually that needs to occur. People need to be educated on the issue. People need to be educated on what they can do. But more importantly, we need to ensure that we're educating our women to ensure that they feel confident to move outside of the university space and to take space in higher positions. And so we had a female development program this year, which is something I absolutely loved. And we had 3 themes, imagining your future, confidence, and assertiveness. And essentially what the program was all about was 3 days, all online, free, accessible to all students on campus, as well as staff as well, and for only women as well, I must add. And essentially what you had to do was 3 days of workshops where it was a safe environment for people to communicate, for people to learn, and actually just like learn from one another and provide their advice and have a talk session from trained individuals and trained women who can just say, this is how I embody confidence, this is how I embody assertiveness, this is how I plan and imagine my future, and I don't allow anything to stop in my way, get in my way. And this is just different initiatives that they're just put in place to ensure that women feel confident to actually be themselves. And I just received a quotation from the organizers about why they actually organized this event and why they ran it. So they said, we have been offering a support for our female students through the Sprint program for 5 years now. In response to the continued gender pay gap, we were unable to offer this program over this summer, so we created an in-house program to fill some of the key gaps female students discuss during Sprint. So Sprint also is another program which is catered towards female students on campus to tackle various issues that they may face academically as well as socially. So it was important to us to understand key issues from a gender perspective, thinking about a balance between what we might need to learn to do better and what we need to change in the system, so systematic discrimination is reduced. Having a female-only space allows deeper, safe conversations and networking. And so I think I was one of the presenters in the show, in the event, but at the same time, I learned so much from it. And it was great because a lot of women there were first-year students and who were new to the campus, did not know anyone. And a lot of them actually gave feedback that they obtained friends from the program. And I think that's a really great thing for new freshers, we call them here, new fresh students onto the campus, that the first people that you're meeting are great individuals who embody and are trying to work towards dismantling systematic and discrimination which occurs on campus and wider society as well. And that's just a great space for a lot of women to be in. And of course, this program is an extension of a bigger program as well. So essentially what I've just done is given an overview on student focus, like initiatives that Warwick University hold, because this is as a representative of the student union, that's the most that I can give as well. But I should like to talk about the student union as well does so well to support our liberation societies. And our liberation societies are essentially a group of Feminist Society, which is Warwick Anti-Sexism Society, Warwick Anti-Racism Society, Warwick Pride, which is our LGBTQA+ network, and also Warwick Enable, which is our disabled students society. And we do our best to ensure that these societies receive funding from this student union. They're free to run events and campaigns in collaboration with us that ensures that we are tackling discrimination, all forms of discrimination that occurs. And a beautiful thing that does happen on our campus is all of these societies actually work together to run a range of events, and ensuring that when we're talking about equality for women and we're talking about feminist issues, we are not leaving behind Black and brown women, and we're ensuring that the voices of disabled women and gay and trans and bi women are also involved as well. So it's a great thing that our campus does do, and I think I really love our student unions for ensuring that these individuals have the space to do all of this. And essentially my time this year is to continue the great work of a lot of the other women's officers and ensuring that we are continuing to have this safe space on campus for women. But thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I love how many actual concrete initiatives there are that are also tied to like the physical space and physical products like period poverty. I actually have one question about that before we move to the next speakers. What is it called, Locker 21, the emergency period products. Oftentimes I see that when we talk about gender equality and actual supports, there is a lot of goodwill, incredible amounts of goodwill, but then suddenly when you're asking for actual funds for projects, sometimes there's a bit of a wall there. So I was wondering if the Locker 21 project, is it coming out of the student union's funds or is it the university's funds?
So the Locker 21, so the university does really well to actually try and fund Warwick Students' Union. And so it comes from price matching. So it comes from the university as well as the Students' Union. I think there is a push to ensure that more of it does come from the university, but that's just a push that we're going to try and go for this year. And with the welfare boxes as well, that's coming from a fund from the university this year, but the hope is for it to be fully funded by the university by next year.
Okay, so that is amazing to see, because I'm immediately thinking about what is the role of universities when it comes to concrete things like funds as well. How far do they feel they need to go, and how far do they actually go outside of the educational curriculum of their students to also really intervene in a positive way to prevent things like period poverty? While some people might say, maybe it's not our job as a university, they are here to get their degrees and that's it. So that is very encouraging to see that actually at Warwick, that is very far-reaching in very concrete ways. So then we are at our last speakers before we open the floor for the discussion and questions. There's going to be a lot of Lisa's. I'm Lisa, the moderator, and then we're going to have Lisa Wouters and Lisa van der Schuren, who are from the Free University of Brussels, and they are members of the Equality team. So that is not from students, but from staff of the university, but they are concerned with students' gender equality as well. So I would like to open the floor to both Lisas.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. If
okay,
all
so
is good.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Well,
Then
I'm Lisa, one of the Lisas, Lisa Wouters, and I will start this presentation. I will give a brief overview of some actions that took place in the past or have started in the past. And by that, I mean before 2019, before the Equality Action Plan came into being. And then my colleague, Lisa van der Schuren, will present some of the more recent initiatives that took place or are taking place at our university, VUB, within the scope of the Equality Action Plan. So let's talk about before 2019. Well, it's a little bit the same story as at CY, I have the feeling. There was a gender action plan in 2014 with a main focus on academic staff and the leaky pipeline in the academic careers of women. And you see on this slide the well-known scissors showing in purple, at a purple line, that about 45% of the PhDs at VUB are women. And in the end of the academic career, about 17% of the full professors are women. So this is really a structural problem. Over the years, the data have shifted a little bit, but not enough. The pattern really stays the same. So that was one of the main goals to tackle in the Gender Action Plan in 2014. And we have taken some steps, but the problem hasn't resolved. So this is also very much today on the agenda. We also noticed that there are big differences between disciplines and departments. And then we'll go to the next slide. I have some two examples. You see on the left the situation in the Department of Engineering, where you see the purple line, the percentage of women. And you can see that not so many women enroll in engineering, and at the starting point of the purple line. But you see like more or less horizontal curve. So the percentage of enrolling students and professors are very low. Not so many women in engineering, but more or less the same. That's a completely different situation in the faculty department of psychology and education, for example, on your right side. And there you can see a very high percentage of enrollment of women. About 80% of the students that enroll are women in psychology, but the percentage of women professors is much lower than the 80%. So I wanted to launch this discussion a bit in the group because I was thinking, perhaps we can discuss this later on. Like, what are the goals? Do we want like how the students, the diversity of the students reflected in the staff or not? Or what are perhaps some things to achieve more women enrollment in engineering, for example? So I would like to have that discussion later on. What also happened at the VUB before 2019, and I just very quickly want to show 3 different examples. That is, firstly, one, VUB created a place to report harassment, offensive conduct and harassment. It relates a little bit to the previous speaker at Warwick. This was a first step, really. And I have to say, at this moment, we're doing an evaluation, and we hope to make some improvements soon also, because we see that it doesn't always work in a good way. The focus there was really on the harassment, sexual harassment, etc. But we also think it's necessary to broaden that up to racism, etc. In the meantime, yeah, very important to say also, we have a code of conduct now that goes with it. So a code of conduct that has been written and that applies to the whole academic community. That's one example on the left. Then you see some strange numbers. I just wanted to say something about an agreement which all the Flemish universities made, an agreement to monitor student personal data in the same way. So we're not talking only about gender, but also about language, about social and ethnic background, ability, etc. And I think, this is a big step, I think, in developing effective policies in a more intersectional way also. But that was something, it was a very big dossier in Flanders, but now we have this agreement that all universities are using the same indicators. For us as policymakers, that was a big step that was taken. And then I also, thirdly, I wanted to highlight a bit our study guidance center. You see there a picture in the right corner of the really new refurbished guidance center, which I think was and is still a very important player in the support and the well-being of our students and creating equal opportunities, study opportunities for all students. So these were like 3 different examples. There are a lot more. I don't want to be exhaustive. I just wanted to highlight some things we can talk about later on. And then indeed, the next slide, something also I liked very much because it was really fun. And I also liked, someone said, also feminism has to be fun. And then it's really, I agree, difficult to have that balance between being active and being firm, but also have to integrate some fun and to make it also a very nice thing to participate. And this is a slide, for example, of picture of the VUB and the ULB, the French-speaking sister university of the VUB. And we're participating here, making a statement at the Belgian Pride. We started this at, I think it was first time 2019, but yeah, it has become a yearly tradition now. Unfortunately, COVID made it, last year it wasn't possible to have the parade, but I think it was a very nice thing to do. So with students and with staff also. And you see it in the middle of the picture, you see our rectors also taking part. So it was a really, I think symbolically, it was really nice. And then I would like to summarize a bit by saying that, a lot of things has been done, but the focus before 2019, so before the Equality Action Plan came into being, the focus was mainly on academic staff, so really also on gender, with the Gender Action Plan, etc. And there were, some initiatives involving students, but not that much. And also the intersectional approach was perhaps sometimes lacking, or it was not really in a coherent way, I would say. And then I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I'm just playing a little bit with my screen. Okay, perfect. Does everyone hear me? Okay, nice. Well, since 2019, 2020, we actually can speak from a equality team at VUB, which of course gives us a little bit more resources in people, but also in fundings to, like Lisa said, broaden up our perspectives a little bit and our actions. And actually, let's say that in this goal, the events of spring and summer 2020, this year kind of were, they were faster than we could already I'm sorry. They went faster than they were there before we actually could already do something about it. So we took this window of opportunity, which maybe is a weird way to put it, but we had for the first time actually a conversation about racism with our rector at the VUB, and with students and with employees, but we kind of separated them in different groups just really to have that safe space that a lot of you already talked about today, with the goal that with these conversations, we actually have a starting point as a VUB community to discuss what we need to be, what needs to be done to move towards this more inclusive work, but of course for the students, to the environment, and have an anti-racist university. From these conversations, a lot of possible solutions were mentioned, and of course a lot of problems were pointed out as well. And just like Lisa said before, this is not like the exhaustive list, but I wanted to point out two of the actions that are happening right now / already happened. So the first one is, this person probably in the not in Belgium, you won't know her, but it's Dalila Herrmann. She's a Belgian author, and actually since 2014, it's her mission to discuss and tackle racism and discrimination. She also helped us moderating these conversations about racism with our students. And she now is going to give a lecture series on anti-racism for our students. So it's interdisciplinary, so it won't be fixed to one faculty. And of course, the next years we want to embed it for real in the curricula of the VUB. And 2 weeks ago, we had a very nice online event where Dalila, together with our students, of course, it was online, they actually discussed together on what topics this lecture series should be. And then, of course, then there is the second action I would like to talk about. It's diversity in the curriculum. So, of course, there is a debate taking place about diversity in the academic curricula over in the educational institutions, and that's not differently at the VUB. In 2019, we searched and we found a researcher, Crystal Asamoah. She actually led this research. It was a pilot project to actually see, together with the academic staff and the students, how it is today with the diversity in the curriculum of the VUB, and also what can be done to make it better or more diverse. And last week we had actually also with an online event, we had the presentation of the results. And also a discussion that took place. There were students, there were people from the academic staff from the VUB, but actually the goal of this research project is, one, to kind of kick off the discussion about how inclusive our curricula is, and yeah, the teaching practices and also the decolonization of our academia, but of course more concrete, or well, let's say practical. We also want to have some sort of roadmap for all the different study programs based on the results of this research, how they can actually put into action to diverse their curriculum. So just two actions. I know it's not completely on the gender team. We took it a little bit wider because, well, we had gender already the last years, and this year, if we can be honest, the focus was more on this anti-racism, or how we can develop further to an anti-racist university. But of course, luckily, we don't have to choose a team as an equality team and SVB to put our efforts in. Now we are creating actually, or we're bringing together a lot of people and groups at the VUB that are already busy with inclusion or equality, and we're bringing them together, in the hope we can encourage this intersectional approach. Some of you already talked to as well, because it's not or gender or race and anti-racism that we want to cover with our actions. So yes, this is our aim for more intersectionality, which is also the central place in our new equality action plan that we are developing right now. And the fact that we want to create such a network is also because we really want to put a focus on co-creation and be open as policymakers for the whole VUB community, and especially for the students. So also a lot of student organizations that have already an equality topic as their central mission were contacted to become a member of this network. So, and before I give the word, the floor back to the third Lisa here today, our moderator, I also just wanted to point out that since the start of November, we have a new team member at the equality team, which is Shema Al-Merai, and she actually is also our colleague who will take up everything from the Ethiopia Work Package 5, so everything on inclusion. She couldn't be here with us today, but at least I wanted to give her this virtual floor as a new colleague at the VUB. And then, the thank you. I don't know if you can see him or not, but anyway, thank you very much for your time and for this platform to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the VUB.
Thank you so much. I at least couldn't see the thank you on the screen, but I heard it from you, so that's enough.
Yeah, it's technical things, it's okay.
Yeah, as is the very nature of these panel discussions, we did run a bit late, also because I couldn't help but have some comments on each presentation on what I noticed and what I did not, which means that we have around 15 minutes left for the discussion and Q&A. Before I open the floor to people, I just want to give a heads up. Normally you also see it on the screen that the session is being recorded, and normally it's going to be shared on some platforms afterwards as well, so just keep that in mind if you're asking questions, or if you don't want to be speaking on a recording, you can also always just ask your questions in the chat. So anyone who has questions may either, like I said, raise their hand and I will give them the floor, or type them in the chat. And for now, we can maybe already get back to some topics that I saw in the talks. It was, as is the fight for gender equality, very multifaceted. So, but I think some big themes that I kept seeing coming back were, of course, intersectionality, both of ethnicity, but also gender identity, trans people, sexuality as well, and anything ranging from a lot of policy to a lot of more hands-on initiatives. So maybe Julia, I'll just start calling on people. Julia, if you can maybe get back to what you heard from the others also when it came to what can be the role of feminism in a time where it seems to many people already that we have maybe almost achieved gender equality, then what can be the niche, and also maybe talk a bit about that, well, if you want to, of course, that's combined with this balance that we have to have between engagement and activism, with being more stern and demanding gender equality, but also keeping it fun and light for everybody to feel involved. I'm sorry, I'm picking you as my first victim.
No,
but,
no.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I would just like, if we talk, for example, about Swedish context, yeah, there is this like very strong sense of like national identity that's a pretty gender equal society, yet we also do have to constantly challenge like the very notion of equality. What is it? Is it just like getting women up to like the same level as men and like trying to achieve equality in terms of like pretty numbers, or should we also just also critically look at that not only in a quantitative but also qualitative approach? So one point I would like to bring up is, for example, if we talk about enrollment or like trying to stimulate enrollment, that is great, but I think the next step would be looking at the university or like course curricula, for example, because what difference does it make that we get like equal amount of men and women studying politics or law or entrepreneurship if everyone is just going to be educated into like highly masculine idea of what social justice or like legal justice should look like, what entrepreneurship should look like, or sustainability should look like. So the next step would be like paying attention to the curriculum and like the kind of education we provide, and just being like critical about society and like social structures as a whole. Another thing when it comes to intersectionality, I guess, and linking it to Swedish context, I guess exactly like you said, there is still some like maybe misunderstanding or feeling like it's not something that needs to be actively talked about, or gender identities that do not fall into gender binary, like misunderstanding around non-binary people or transgender people. As well as all different forms of sexuality. So that is something we do try to highlight, and that is something that, especially like I would imagine like professors or staff that works outside of humanities and social sciences would have trouble understanding, maybe doesn't have as many tools to like deal with those kind of students. So we also talked a lot about like mental health of students like that, because they are way more likely to experience things like depression and anxiety linked to their gender or sexual identity. So it is important to work with educators and like raising awareness of all those different forms of gender and sexual identities and how to like be mindful of them and accommodate their special needs in terms of mental health, pronouns, and other things.
Thank you so much. I also remember you said during your talk that in your own society, it's a bit difficult to recruit people that are coming from the more STEM side, or to say not the humanities side, because of course the humanities, I am myself a sociology student, just for transparency, of course have, like you said, a bit of a background with already knowing about what systemic oppression can be and how it can function. And I think we can maybe talk a bit, maybe I will ask Lisa Wouters about this, about what do you think, if there is a relation between this not having so much education, if you're in a STEM field, about discrimination and inequality, and what role that maybe plays, I'm sure we don't have data on it right now, in the recruitment of women into those fields, those STEM fields. Lisa, if you could maybe say something about that.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Two things. I don't have the, how should I say it, the answer right there. But I want to give two remarks. That is, I think the gender stereotypical, or no, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the way students choose their education. It starts already in kindergarten, as to say. It is the whole socialization of society, in fact, that comes into play, I think, and that plays a role in women choosing for engineering or psychology, just giving an example. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in a broader sense on that. And then secondly, I think that there's a need for a coherence between, how should I say it? I do think that the curricula have to be inclusive in a way. But that goes really further than just tackling anti-discrimination or things like that. I think really it takes an effort from the professors also. It's a really hard job to do, I think. And I can talk for example, at the VUB, we tried to have this project. We had this project on diversity or decolonizing the curriculum. And it was really interesting, but it showed also that there is a long road to go, and that professors aren't always aware of those issues. And I really think there's also something that students could take up for this. I have the feeling when the students are saying, okay, are scrutinizing the curriculum or making saying that I really think that students have a voice in co-creating the curriculum. That's something like that I want to say. It's really important, I think, to have the students participating in creating the curriculum. And I think students can voice their problems with some curriculum, I think.
Yeah, so it's almost, I mean, it's kind of the classic, the teacher also learns from the students, but also that in combination with, I've heard a lot about education of students on what is sexual harassment, what is discrimination, and also education linked to empowerment. But maybe we can look even more at educating the educators, like the professors, that should also know about this and also have a role to play in being more of a leading example of living gender equality. And definitely it is up to, I mean, maybe sadly, I would say it is also up to students to take up a role in that and kind of demand that education from our supervisors or higher ups, so to say. So thank you so much for the, I would say, intervention of your, or what you said. Maybe another thing that we can also discuss that is a bit different from that is, Amara, you have a lot of, or Warwick has a lot of, like I said, very practical implementations of things to help students are on a very practical level. Maybe you can talk a bit, because it interests me a lot, on how you experience, I already asked about it a bit, how you experience translating good intentions on gender equality and on support into actual concrete actions within the university system, so to say, within the policy making system of a university.
I think with every student union, they will tell you the same, that it's always difficult to try and get the university to care as much as you do, because student unions are made up of students, and so we understand a lot of us understand what we're fighting for, and we experience it on a daily basis. But also we experience it as students, and so we're trying to now force institutions to change and like adapt themselves, and that's just, it's always difficult. It never occurs without a challenge or a fight or something. But when it does, it's really great. I think in the experience of Warwick SU, we try and develop a good relationship with the university, and so they're more prone to say yes, whether or not it's being done because of their like for our initiative or how well it looks for the university, I can't speak on. However, the point is, regardless of their intention, as long as they've signed up to initiatives that we have created, and which will have a positive impact on our students and ensure that campus is safer for students, but also mean that we can use the resources to help the local community as well. For me personally, that's my main priority, because it's like I want to ensure, like in an ideal world, the big institutions will work and will care, but unfortunately that's not the reality, and I want to ensure that the safety of students should be first, and especially women within my role should be first and foremost. But that's the case. I also want to say that we have a Warwick decolonization project as well, because you were talking previously about how students should sort of help be the educators as well for a lot of those higher ups. And we have a program where we have student facilitators who from different departments who actually educate and go to different departments and say, this is the things you need to change within your curriculum in order to decolonize it and to ensure that it's not whitewashed. It actually includes the narratives of many cultures and histories within your curriculum. And I think that's something really good. And Warwick University has signed up to it, and they seem to be very on board in doing that as well. So that's quite helpful.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, my mute button was not working. I think it's very smart from a policymaking perspective. I don't know if I introduced myself as such, but I'm also with the student council of my university. I'm the president this year to really see what are my goals and how do I get to them regardless of what anyone else's goals are. And really walking that line that I think Julia also mentioned a bit of, like, where do we stand within buzzwords, and maybe the university also seeing it as a bit like buzzwords for social media, and actually achieving goals. So I think that's a very practical, pragmatic way of going about it. So that's very good. Sadly, we only actually have 3 more minutes. I wish we had so much more time. And I wish I could have asked a question to every single speaker as well. But maybe to wrap up, I can maybe ask, I don't know, Laura, about, you said as your final keynotes that education and empowerment and critical thinking as well are very big factors in gender equality and in any kind of social equality, I would say. So maybe if you have some closing words for us, and then afterwards I can wrap up the session.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was listening to you before when you said the fact that it's important to educate to educators. I think this is the key to everything, because luckily we are born in a generation or in a society where all these topics that we've been discussing today are not a taboo, or not anymore. But maybe in the generation of my mother or my grandmother, it was really tricky to came up with some thoughts or some things to say about this, because you were constantly questioned and constantly, I don't know, like you weren't free to express what you really thought, or even you weren't free to act maybe as you wanted to. So I think that it's really great that now our educators or maybe lots of them have been like educated or have been lucky enough to receive this kind of formation, so that the new generations that they are helping now and that they are teaching now have like more tools to develop their critical thinking, or maybe like in families, like I think that people or children are educated by their families, by their school, and by the whole environment that is around them. So I think that maybe families, they usually have like a typical way of thinking that can be, I don't say that it's good or bad, but it's just one way. So it's good that in the school they have like another point of view of things, and in their friends have another point of view of things, so they can see things not just in one way but in a lot of ways. And so if they have developed this critical thinking, they can think as they want to think and not as as how they have been told to think. So I think it's crucial for, as I said before, our development as persons, as people, and as society and countries, to have these skills and to, I don't know, to try always to understand others, if we want to be better people and live in a better world. Because we've been, unfortunately, we've been banned, and a lot of things have been forbidden for a lot of time, and now it's our opportunity to change the things. Like, we have a good environment to do it, but I think it's our obligation to keep doing these things and to keep empowering others and ourselves. So
thank you so much for your closing words, and thank you. I'm maybe first gonna say that I have already learned a lot. Sometimes there are so many things going on gender that you think, another panel, another discussion, and only people who are already interested will show up. But actually, while that may be the case, we still have a lot to learn from each other. And I feel like I've learned a lot already from this session. So thank you so much for your participation. And I really hope, my hope for this situation is always that at the end of the meeting, you should ask yourself, how are we going to get better from this? How can I help students with this new information I have? So I hope everybody will have learned something and will be able to look at their university and their work and say, how can I implement these wisdoms and these ideas that I've heard from others today? So that's my hope for the session, but of course I cannot make you do anything. And then I would just like to close off by saying, again, a very big thank you to the speakers, a very big thank you to the audience as well. Those are registered and came and are still going strong all the way at the end of the session. And a very big thank you for Warwick for hosting this and also providing technical supports during this 2-hour period. So I think we can close off like this. And I hope we have all become better for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.